Hi everyone, it's Kathy and you're back here in my craft room and on my YouTube channel, Kathy's Random Acts of Stampin'. I'm so glad you tuned in today. You can see that I have this beautiful card. It's very elegant with just the words on it, and I love that. What a beautiful card for Christmas. But there's one little problem. This designer series paper is no longer available. How do I know this? Well, I usually check the status of all of the items that Stampin' Up! Carries, especially before I do a video. And I made this card sometime this past week, and I love the way it turned out. I actually got my inspiration off of Pinterest. But with this paper gone, it's almost impossible to do that. But I have a solution. So here is my solution. I'm going to grab a piece, and I can't decide if I want to use Night of Navy. I do have a quarter of a sheet of Night of Navy here. And I'm going to let me grab one of my lapel mics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of Starry Sky and Night of Navy. Now you can see there is a difference in the color. And if you bring this up beside of it, it looks like that the Night of Navy is more true to the background of this than the Starry Sky. So I'm going to use the Night of Navy. Okay. Our Stars at Night stamp set has this beautiful little grouping of stars, stars, and stars, and then you even have these little ones here. So let me show you. You have this larger one like that. You have the little spray of stars like this. And then you've got these little stars like that. I'm going to do some heat embossing using this, just using these stamps, some VersaFine ink, and we're going to see if we can replicate somewhat our paper that we have. We're just going to kind of make our own, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to pull this down. I've told y'all my camera's been a little wonky lately, and I think it has something to do with let's see if I can fix this. I believe that is a little bit better. So we're going to go with that for right now and hope that that's going to give us what we need. So what I want to do is I'm going to grab out about 3 stamp blocks, and I'm just going to go ahead and load these up on here, and they don't have to be perfect. I just want them to be on my blocks. I'm going to grab one of these for this one, and how about a smaller one for this one? All right, now that I've got those done or loaded up on stamp blocks, I'm also going to grab my embossing buddy because I am going to be heat embossing, so I want to coat this really well with this anti-static powder. And I'm not being shy with how much I get on here because I really want it to be well covered. Anytime you touch your paper, we have natural oils in our skin. It's that time of the year where everything's drying out and we tend to put lotion on our hands. I know I've been using a lot of lotion on my hands. So I'm going to come in and I want to stamp this big one first. So I'm just going to tap, tap, tap in my ink. And then I'm going to come down to about here. And I'm going to put one right there. You can see it. I'm going to come up here and put one right about here. I'm going to do one off to the side right here. I want to do one that's right up off of the edge right here. Maybe right down here. And then I'm going to do 2 in the middle. I'm going to do one right there. And maybe one right here. All right, I'm done with that one. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill in with this little stamp. So I want to make sure I've got some little stars going here. And maybe you can turn it around different directions. You know, there's no rhyme or reason. You just want to get some stars all over your paper. Now I'm going to come back with these, and I'm just going to put a few of these any place that looks like it's missing. And I think that looks really good. Now, I know this is going to be a lot of heat setting, but I think this is going to work. So I'm going to bring out my white embossing powder, because remember, we're trying to imitate the color of this, and these stars are all white. So for that reason, I chose my white embossing powder. So I'm going to hold this right on that edge right there. And I'm going to put a good amount of embossing powder all over. And I'm getting it everywhere. How pretty. Isn't that glorious? All right, I'm going to grab my little brush and I'm going to sweep this back into my container. That does two things. It keeps it from setting on my work surface, and it also puts it back where it belongs. So let's cover this up. We definitely don't want that flying everywhere. And I'm going to grab my little reverse tweezers. I'm going to try to catch this down here at the bottom in one little corner like that. And I'm going to bring my heat tool over. Now, the one thing you want to do with your heat tool is you want to preheat it. So I'm going to go ahead and start it heating up. And if you notice, the stars are very random, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to be random here and there, and I think we've got a really good effect of this particular piece of paper. Actually, I think I might like it better. So now that I've got my heat tool heating, I'm going to come and I'm going to start embossing or heat setting. And the first thing I want to do is I'm going to heat the back of my paper. Then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to start setting this. It does take a little longer to heat set a large piece like this than it would normally. It's okay. Enjoy the process. And you can see as it melts, you can definitely see everything changing from that kind of dull gray look to a white, shiny sparkle. All right, I think we got that pretty well heat set. So let's look and see if we feel like we've gotten everything on there that needs to be. That one's a little iffy right there. I'm going to hit, I think it's all set. Let me take my little brush and let's do this. All right, I think we're good with that. So now what we're going to need is we're going to need a card base of white, and I've got the thick basic white, and I'm going to score this using my scoring tool at 4 1/4, because this is 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to score it in half on the 8.5-inch side at 4 1/4. So I'm going to come in right there, 1/4, 4 1/4 line, and I'm giving it a nice good score. Turn it over and fold it. And then we're going to grab a bone folder. Okay, I think we're back. Did I knock something loose? Okay, are we working? Hmm. Okay, I had a little hiccup because I accidentally hit my plug that plugs my camera into my computer that transmits everything. So I think we're back. We got this all heat set and we're ready to cut this down to fit on top of our card. Now, I just folded this, scored it and folded it. And now we're going to take this piece and we're going to cut it down to 4 by 5 and 1/4. So you need to decide whether you want to take an eighth off of each side, or if you want to take a fourth off. I'm going to take an eighth off of each side. Eighth. And an eighth. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I need it to be 5, and it's 5.5, so I'm going to take a 1/4 inch from the bottom. And a 1/4 inch from the top. And that should put us right on 5. So now we've got that beautiful piece of cardstock that we made ourselves using our embossing powder, and we are going to adhere it to the front of our card base. You know what I just did? I cut off too much. It's okay. We're going to fix it. I'm going to make this to be 3 3 3/4. So I'm going to take another eighth off. So I really need a 1/4 off of each side. I'm going to take the 1/4 off right here and call it a day. Okay, so now we have this piece cut down like we need it. That way we've got the same margins all the way around. And then we're going to use this, and I'm going to use next to the largest of this die. So it's going to be this one right here. And we're going to cut a piece of vellum out of this. And see, this is going to fit on here beautifully. It's going to cover up quite a bit, but we're going to see the stars a little bit through it as well. So let's go ahead and put this on. Bring it up to the top like that. And I'm going to use some of my Post-it flags just to hold this in place while I run it through my die cut machine. So I'm just going to bring this over and lay it onto my plate. And I'm going to shoot this through. And we are going to pop this out. And there's our piece that we're actually going to stamp on. So this one, I'm going to save that because I might be able to use that on another card. I need to flip my plates. For that. Now the next thing that I want to do with this is I want to use that powder tool on it again, the embossing buddy. And we want to make sure that we get plenty of powder on this piece. And I'm going to pull out the other stamp set from this collection called Oh Holy Night. And it is, Night Divine has all of these beautiful sentiments. So we are going to use this one right here, this big one. Oops. And let's set that over there. Bring this piece back over. And I'm going to, I think I want to use a positioner for this. I hope y'all don't mind if I pull out my old but goody trying to decide. I'm going to try not doing it with that. I'm going to try doing it with just like this. And I'm going to use a larger stamp block. And this one is the E block. And it's big enough that it will accommodate this big stamp. Just like that. Now I'm going to turn that over since it's bigger, and I'm going to ink it upside down rather than taking the stamp to the ink. I'm going to take the ink to the stamp. You want to make sure that you don't rock back and forth like that when you're inking your stamp, because if you do, you can get ink along the edges and it can transfer to your piece. I've had it happen, and if you've done any stamping at all, you've probably had it happen too. And it's no fun. All right, let's try that and hope that we got a good amount of that on there. And I'm going to bring it right up to there. I'll sit it down and give it some nice even pressure. And then lift it. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Now for this, I'm not going to use white. I'm going to use my silver embossing powder. I want the stars to be white, but I want the words to be in silver. So I'm going to take the edge of this up, and you can see what a beautiful impression we got. So I think that's going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to take my embossing powder and just run it all over that piece. And I'm going to go over it a couple, maybe 3 times, just to make sure. Beautiful. Look how pretty that is. And wait until we get the shine, that embossing powder on it. That's going to step it up an entire notch. Put my embossing powder up, and I'm going to move this out of my way. And we're going to bring that heat gun back in, or the heat tool. Some people call it a heat gun, some call it a heat tool. Stampin' Up! Does refer to theirs as a heat tool. So I'm going to turn it on and let it start getting warm. It's already warm from where we did the stars, so we shouldn't have to heat it up. No. I want to hang on to it. And see how fast that's melting? That's because it's already been heated. Can you see that magic? Oh, it's so pretty. Woo. It blew off the desk, but I'm going to do the back of it to help it lay down flat. And there is our heat embossing on that, and that beautiful sparkly silver. And I think it looks so good. So now what we need to do is we need to decide how we're going to attach this to this piece. The best thing to do when you've done heat embossing, because anywhere you put glue on the back of this, you're going to see it. So we're going to use some glue dots. Glue dots are wonderful for this because they do help camouflage where you're putting it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these up because we're going to need several. And I'm just going to pull one up on my fingernail. Just like that. That's what it will look like. And roll it. And when you get it into a line where you can hide it behind like the P, that's a really good place to hide it. And we're going to get another piece of it. And roll it. That. And so I'm just going to keep going with putting these on here until I get some of them everywhere that I can find a place for them to stick without hopefully showing too very bad. And you can hold it up to the light to be able to tell whether you've got it behind it as well as you would like. I do need a couple up here at the top. So what I like to do is hold it up to the light, and then I can kind of see where I can place that. Okay, and I need another one over there, and then we're going to put one big one right there. I'm not going to ball it up. I'm just going to lay it flat, like right about here. That's where the bow's going to be, so that will cover up right there. All right, so let's do one more up here at the top corner. All right, so now that we got those all on there, we can bring it and place it right in the middle of our piece of designer series paper. So now that's all adhered like we need it. Don't worry about that one. We're going to cover that up. So what we want to do now is just come to the back of it and use some glue, or you can use tear and tape, Stampin' Seal, whatever is your preference of glue. I'm going to just use some liquid glue. And I am going to put this on here like so. Give everything a good press. And I love that look. Look how pretty that is. Now we're going to take our silver and white ribbon. This right here is such a pretty roll of ribbon. And we're going to just do our little finger loop bow like that. And I'm going to bring it down and cut it about here. I'm just going to tie this simple little loop bow. This makes such a cute, cute bow. So I'm going to rock that back and forth until I get it nice and tight, and I'm pulling it down so that both of my tails will be pointing down. And when you pull it off, this piece to the front of your fingers is the front of your bow, and the piece on the back is the back of your bow. So pull them off like so. Adjust your little tails and what have you like you want them. And then once you get that like you want it, then you can just come in with your scissors and cut this off. And I like to cut it at a nice little angle like that. And then we're going to put that right down there at the bottom. And how am I going to attach it? I'm going to attach it again with another glue dot, because glue dots can be our best friend in our craft room. I love these things. I use them all the time. So I'm going to put that down right like that. Look how pretty that card is. And now for my inside, I'm going to use, maybe we'll use the Starry Night. Do we want to go lighter inside? I think I do. I don't know. I'm such a stickler for things being coordinated. Maybe I want light of navy. That'd be big enough. That's going to be, that's not going to be quite big enough. So I'm digging in my scrap bin, y'all. This will work because it is 4 1/4. Just what I needed. So I'm going to bring out my paper trimmer, and we are going to put this in. Let's lay our card over here. And we're going to compare the two cards in just a moment. The difference in using, so we're going to bring this to 5 1/4. 2, 4. So now I want to stamp Oh Holy Night, I think, on this one. That's exactly what I did on the other one. So we'll see. We'll see if we like that. All right, my stamp set that I want is right here. And then I'm going to do the Oh Holy Night. I might take this one up just a notch because I'm going to also heat set it. And I may put this right down here in the bottom. So maybe there. I'll tell you what, let's do this one right here first. But I want to use my embossing buddy again because we are going to heat emboss. Like that. And our VersaFine ink, our Versamark ink, I'm sorry. And I am going to turn that like that. I want it right in the middle. Beautiful. And now I want to do the Oh Holy Night. I'm going to bring the ink to the stamp. Now the stamps are still available, so if you want to purchase the stamps, I would encourage you to go ahead and do that. This is such a beautiful set. And the dies to this one is the manger scene. And it is so pretty. Ah, glorious. And we're going to do this in silver. I'm going to grab my silver embossing powder. And let's go over this with the silver. There's a little bit of a boo-boo on it, but I think I can fix it. At least I hope I can. Right here, it looks like I kind of rocked my stamp a little bit. Anytime you do that, if you have a paintbrush where you can come in and clean it up, just a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to lay that down. We're going to bring the heat tool. Because we've already used this heat tool, it's already warm, so it won't take long to heat emboss this. I'm going to heat it on the back to try to help the warping. So I'm just going to hold it. We've got that one done. And that is showing a little bit more than I wanted it to, but we're just going to pretend like those are stars that kind of rested down on top of that. You know, it's our card. We can pretend any way we want to. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, I want to make sure it's nice and cool before I lay it flat. And I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal this time. Oops, and guess what? I'm at the end of this, and it broke. Haha. Let's see if we can peel that up. It just means that we need a new refill. No biggie. Hopefully I got enough on here, and I'll put just a tiny bit of glue as well. Like that. We'll refill that in just a moment. So I'm going to open up my card, and I'm going to set this in, making sure I've got my little borders where I need them to be. Get it nice and straight. And there is our card. You'll have to tell me what you think. So here's the one that I did with the Designer Series paper. And this is the one I did with my makeshift paper. So you can see that you can get the same effect if you've got the stamps that you got from the designer series paper, especially with this piece in particular. So I hope that that has been helpful. I hope you love this card. I think it's absolutely stunning. And let me know in the comments which one you like better, using the designer series paper or making your own. And also, if you are interested in purchasing any of the supplies you saw me use today or anything Stampin' Up, there's a link to my online store. You can reach out to me via email, text, or call me, and I'll be more than glad to help you. God bless and keep you. And as I always say in closing, let everything that you do and say bring glory to our Father in heaven. He is worthy. Until next time, God bless and keep you. Bye.